Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I want to speak to you about something very special. I'm a co-founder and also the Chief Sharia Officer of Rightly Guided, which is involved with AI and ilm. So you might ask the question, what has Mufti Amjad got to do with AI and ilm? Well, the thing is, to be honest, we should have everything to do with AI and ilm. Allow me to explain. I've been very fortunate. Alhamdulillah, I've spent most, if not a great significant amount of my life in learning, from as a young boy to a slightly elderly gentleman that sits in front of you right now. But also I've spent a significant amount of that time teaching as well. So it's not just been a case of learning, but also there has been significant amount of time of teaching as well. And for most of us who've spent this time in their studies, books is always been our source of ilm. As you can see around me, the books in my study here at home that are so heavy that they're now starting to buckle the shelves a little bit. Maybe I need some more shelves. And this is where we've always got it from. But ilm is, it is, which book do you go to? Who do you read? Who don't you read? It becomes very difficult, especially when we take the words of the pious predecessors that said, Inna hazal ilm deenun, fanzuru amman ta'khuzuna deenakum. That this ilm is your deen. This ilm is your religion. So be careful from whom you take your deen. So when I started to see what was going on with regards to how AI was now being introduced and how it was being used to be able to speed things up. So for example, if I was looking for a mas'ala in these books from behind me rather, I would spend maybe hours looking for one particular nugget of information that I needed for a particular fatwa or for a particular lecture that I was giving. Then as time came in, then that process was speeded up by the fact that we could use the computer, and the computer would give us that information quickly. But the computer couldn't learn based on my searches that I was putting in. I would have to put a search and it would find that information. But we're now starting to see that AI is learning. It can predict what you're putting in. It can determine what you're searching for. It can determine also the types of things that you're interested in. So as this AI has been launched and as it is now being used, we need to make sure that we are also at the forefront of it so that it benefits our community. Because one of the things that we do in the deen, as we know, is to preserve it. Our job, our responsibility is to make sure that we can hand this ilm, we can hand this knowledge to the next generation. So how can we do that? How can we now, as we see vast books behind me, not everybody is an opportunity to be able to get these books, buy these books, have access to these books. And nowadays, everybody has some kind of tablet, some phone in which they can access this information. So as we're starting to use these electronic devices, as we're starting to use these various methods of searching for things, then we need to make sure that our deen is also preserved through these methods. But preservation is one thing. As you recall, right from the outset, I mentioned that statement that be careful from whom you take your deen. It is going to become so difficult to determine the wheat from the chaff, because we're going to see so much material out there and we're not going to know, is this actually a hadith in Bukhari? Is this actually an ayat from the Quran? Is this actually a statement of a faqih? Because at the end of the day, it is just data being thrown at us and AI itself can't determine one or the other. Hence the reason why we need ulama engaged and involved in that process as well. So the words of encouragement that I wish to leave with you is that be part of this process. Be part of what Rightly Guided is trying to do in terms of, one, preserving the deen, ensuring that other future generations have access to it. But more importantly, it's also about ensuring that we have the sound legacy, the sound understanding that has been preserved by our scholars for millennia, to make sure that that's what the people obtain as well. But also what we're trying to develop within Rightly Guided is various forums, various groups where like-minded people can come together and also develop their understanding of religion and share good ideas and share ways forward collectively as a ummah as they move forward. But at the same time, what we want to do is also allow individuals who are more of the entrepreneur business mind, that they want to now look at an opportunity to develop, produce products and services specifically tailored to Muslims. So that's a perfect environment for that as well. But at the same time, we find that people always say, oh, this is Sharia compliant, this is halal, this is according to Islam, but there's no scholarly support there. There's no scholarly verification. So if we can bring both groups together, if we can bridge this gap between the ummah, between the ulama and between those individuals, the Muslims, the general masses, then that would be a perfect marriage, in the sense that we would have learned scholars, experts, making sure that the material is sound first time round and it is preserved soundly, but at the same time, the great masses of people who want to access those ulama can do so likewise. My phone is usually inundated by messages from people who are looking for help, looking for support. As one person, I struggle to meet the needs of everybody, as is obvious the case. But if we have this kind of platform, for example, I have a Markaz al-Ifta wal-Qāḍī for those of you who subscribe to that channel, and you get lots of fatwa and istifta on there. But what we find sometimes is there's so much repetition. A person comes on, asks the same question for which there's already been an answer. And sometimes it proves difficult to find that, because you need volunteers who are going to find those answers and give those people. Imagine if we had a system where the computer itself, the AI itself, found that answer and gave it to that person. So what we're trying to do is get that forum ready as well. So we have a Q&A section on there so people can search the answers that are already there. But also for those questions that don't have answers, they can place it and we can keep building this catalog. We can keep building this. This is the kind of new age. We know there was a time, for example, where the matan, the key texts were written. Then we had people writing the hawashia, the hashia. They would write the commentary on the particular text. And then came the time of the fatwa, which was more the contemporary use of those texts. Now we're in the time of the media information age. So likewise, we want to make sure that our community is not found wanting, is not struggling in these particular environments. So what are you waiting for? Join the rightly guided team in bringing this to fruition. Jazakumullah khair for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.